Aloha. Welcome to another Water Wonders. My name is Tanya Ketza with the City and County of Honolulu Stormwater Quality Branch. Today we're going to do the activity Rainy Day Hike, where we'll explore urban watershed concepts and stormwater issues through an investigation of school buildings and grounds. This is a part of Project WET. It's an activity within their curriculum and activity guide. Project WET stands for Water Education for Today, and I'm a facilitator of this program. And Project WET's mission is to reach children, parents, educators, and communities of the world with water education. They believe that if you educate and empower, people will act to protect our precious water resources. So Rainy Day Hike is really geared towards grades 2 through 8. It'll touch on the subject areas of geography, earth science, and environmental science. We'll be exploring urban watersheds and stormwater by investigating buildings and grounds and their surrounding grounds. We'll demonstrate contributions to pollution in a watershed and what actions you can take to reduce that pollution. They'll identify a watershed in which you are located, explain the role building grounds play in a watershed, and use research and investigation and action to reduce the amount of pollution that enters nearby rivers and lakes. So water bodies, these are really any area that collects water that's drained from a watershed. So this can be a puddle in a little micro watershed, streams and lakes in our larger watersheds. Here we see Kaukonahoa Stream and Lake Wilson, because we are going to be demonstrating the Wahiawa area and the Kaukonahoa Stream and its subsequent watershed. So watersheds are separated by landforms. So they're really delineated by those mountain ridges. As you can see here, this big ko'olaus delineates the major sections of watersheds. And this is a map of ancient Hawaiians' landmass kind of delineations or ways they separated out. And these larger areas were called mokus, and then the smaller were called their ahupua'a, which is really similar to what we call in our modern day a watershed. But they're separated by these land masses, so water would hit the top of a mountain and would fall from either side. And we are going to be really investigating today the Wahiawa area, which is right in here. And so it is a part of the Kamananui Ahupua'a and a part of the Waialua Moku. So when that water runs off of those higher spaces down to the lower areas and collecting into our water bodies, things get caught in that runoff. And some of them get carried far distances, others settle out or get caught up and don't go as far. But things will get caught up and affect the different areas in which they're located, whether it be upstream or all the way out to the ocean. And when these things that get caught up come from many different areas, that is called a non-point source pollution. It's harder to track where they come from because they're from so many different areas. Things like bacteria from pet waste, trash inside a catch basin, soil that's eroding off of an area, chemicals, fertilizers, cleaning fluids, oils, things like that, those kinds of chemicals. This is opposed to a point source where there's a known singular source of where the pollutant's coming from. Where this construction site could possibly end up being a point source if nowhere else in the watershed was there soil eroding. And you can break down watersheds from larger areas into smaller areas. So perhaps in this neighborhood, you can say it enters into the stream and only a point of the stream, and really only this area was eroding. So that could possibly be classified as a point source, but when you look at a larger watershed, there's usually many types of these kinds of erosion events happening. And so it's a little bit more like a non-point source. So today we're going to use a lot of maps and learn about maps and mapping and legends. And so you're probably very familiar with maps through Google Maps. So here's an example of Google Maps for Wahioa. And this is considered a street view. You can also go into topographic view, and that allows you to see the different ridges and depressions and how the land is formed. So here we can see these kind of shaded areas are actually the lower areas, so where the streams and the water is going to collect. And here we see the blue of a Kaukonahoa stream, North Fork of Kaukonahoa stream is delineated. And I want to point out this section here. This is usually your legend, where it would be located. This one is a little bit different. These are what we call layers. So if you clicked on each one of these, you would go from a map view to a satellite, and here we are in terrain. You could also look at traffic, transit, bicycling. So, and then a legend usually would kind of spell out what these little symbols mean, or what different colors of lines would mean. So I want to take you to this website. So gis.highcentral.com, and then there's public websites. And this is a publicly accessible GIS mapping system through the city. Let me share with you that screen right now. So here it is. All right, so we have it in the terrain, which is kind of that topographic view or layer that you could see. And these are all different kinds of layers as well that you can add to your map that you might want to look at. We're going to take us into Wahioa and zoom on in, because we really want to look at Leilehua High School. And what we really want to see, so we see this terrain, we've seen that in the other maps. I want to see the street view. Sorry, it had to refresh on me. We'll get back into there. There we are. So we refreshed and it went back to its defaults. So we're looking at the aerial. This has the satellite. I want to see the street view. The cadastral here, we open up all of these. It'll show you. So this is more the legend. These are the tax parcels. It's all these like black blocks. And so I'm going to take this all off because I don't want to see it. And this also has administrative and political. You could see all of these different things. So it would, see here's a legend with different colors if you wanted to see neighborhoods. And I want to take all of this. Okay. I want to see building footprints. They get even closer. Oops, let me turn that layer on. There we go, that's what I wanted to view. All right, so this is a handy way of just seeing the different buildings and built structures in your watershed, in your neighborhood, and in the plot that you really want to investigate. So we want to investigate Leilehua High School. And so here's all the buildings. that are associated with that. And we can kind of go through the aerial so you can see what it looks like. Here's an access road, the football fields, their ag buildings, their parking lot. And again, you could also just look at terrain. So you could see the topographics. So these lines kind of indicate an elevation, and it'll give you the numbers. So you see it's a little higher elevation going to lower elevation. And lower, 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 right down into these little gullies and streams. All right, so I wanted to show you that. This is a great little tool. And you can capture these. You can just print your screen and ask it to create your print page. And it won't show me that right now, but you can create a print page and just utilize this within our investigation. So we'll just want to look at a part of the campus. I already prepared some of this, so I'm going to go back and share with you the PowerPoint. Get back to our activity here. So our next item after well, the first thing we really want to do is look at our map and identify the nearby water bodies from the area that we're investigating. So for us, that's the high school, which is here. We want to identify these water bodies, right? So you can look these up. Google Maps will share that with you. You can also just Google Streams of Oahu and find different resources to look up stream names. But this is Kaukonahoa, this is South Fork, and this is North Fork. And you can zoom out and see where that really goes to, right? So here we are, here's North Fork, South Fork, and they combine and lead all the way out to the Wailua River and combine it and exit out that way. So it's a lot of water that comes in from this area and out into the ocean. All right, so that would be the first thing we want to do in your activity. So you can do this at your nearby elementary school or high school, or from your home, determine where that is, or any other place that you find interesting. You can even, the botanical garden's a cool place, your nearby park, you can do this activity. It's just a great way to get to know maps and mapping and how you can use this as a really good tool to help manage stormwater. All right, so our next thing that we want to do is figure out when it might be raining and when it might be dry. So go to weather.com and get your weather forecast. All right, so today, Wednesday, June 8th, we are having a partly sunny day. So the chance of rain in Wahiawa is only 20%. At night, we're probably going to get some showers. Those kind of windward Mauka showers are expected in the overnight hours. Tomorrow, Thursday, we might have a few showers. So today would be a great day to do our fair weather investigations. I'll get into that in a minute. And maybe tomorrow we'll be lucky and we'll hit when there's some rain happening. Well, let's get into the next part of the activity is that we get to make a map of our investigative area and use a legend. And here's our own little legend we can use. This will be provided in the description of the YouTube presentation, and you'll be able to access this and print this out as a PDF. And this is that map that I got from that GIS highcentral.com that I just showed you. So like I said, you can zoom in, print the map of it, and get to this. And just utilize this instead of having to mark it all the buildings out yourself. You can just use that. So I have this all in a little Word document for us to create. So in this Word document, I have our map. and then our legend. And we're going to use these to mark what we know. So we already saw that we know that this is a big parking lot over here. I'm going to share with you, I did a little investigating already, and I want to share with you the video of that. Okay, so here we are in the parking lot that has this channelized swell that goes into the nearby in a planted area, through all the little grass down to the storm drain, which is next to the sidewalk, which is next to this kind of corridor in the building. And here I'm showing you the rain gutters that are along that area. And then also this is within their lawn sections, there's these cutouts that go through the sidewalks. And the other side of the campus, there are these rain spouts that go onto the sidewalk that then leads into the access road. You can see evidence of where that water has drained, and again, these cutouts that go through the sidewalk. So I'm going to show you how we can map this out on our little map that's in our Word document. All right, so we saw the parking lot. And the area that we saw, really kind of saw it all in here. And then we saw a big swell. We saw some grass. We saw flower beds that were along here. And then we saw several of these. I'm going to copy paste. There was, I believe, 5 of these downspouts along here. Why? So 5 of them. So I am copy pasting these little symbols for and of this one. Whoops. So those kind of all ran along here. There's flower beds. You can even get into grassy areas. And remember, we saw the storm drain right about here. And we also saw some sidewalk running. It ran kind of this way. And some more along this way. We saw sidewalk and sidewalk. And we'll even count that drainage channel as a bit of sidewalk, right? So you can just draw all of that on here. Now you can go ahead and really draw it out, hand draw it. I wanted to show you kind of a quick way to do some of this. So we also saw where we were looking at those other downspouts is right along here. And we also saw some parking lot, or we'll see that's an access road that ran along all the way along this way. This is all parking lot, access road, sidewalk that went all the way along here. We really only looked at a very small section of all this sidewalk, but it does run along here, and there was more downspouts. So here there was, this all had an overhang. So he showed the buildings, but not necessarily all the little awnings and overhangs. So this kind of area had some overhangs. And I think there was 3 downspouts, if I recall correctly, that kind of went along this area. Went along the sidewalk and then out. And And then there was some trees right around in here. So I'll add some trees. Not getting too fancy, but there's also some trees elsewhere on campus. And then it was very short, but there was a bit of puddling that was happening in this parking lot. So right around here, there was also puddling right near where that cutout was. And this doesn't really give you a place to show those cutouts. So I wanted to kind of share that because that's something that you can always draw in and create your own little legend and say, a cutout or some kind of culvert was located within the sidewalk. I wanted to also share that we did see kind of a lot of leaf litter in here. I'm going to in front of text. All right. So we kind of lost some of our sidewalk, but so in that channel there was some leaf litter, and also want to note there's some leaf litter was seen along the edge of the sidewalks all throughout here too. And start to map that out during all your observations. All right, now we're ready to kind of move on. You can also, note trash and trash cans and grass if your playground's there, any oil that you might see. All right, we completed that portion of our activity. It's time that we've noted where everything is on the map. It's time to also make fair weather predictions. Okay, so we look at where the surfaces slope. Is there tracks of dirt or other coloration that indicates where the water may go? Mark where you think there will be slow or fast flows, and mark where you think puddles will form. We'll go back to our map. And we'll start to make these predictions. Okay, so we already kind of saw some puddling in the parking lot. You can also mark other areas that you see might be depressions. We would anticipate that there would be some flow in that channel that runs to the storm drain. It was not a very steep slope, but it was fairly significant. We'll say that we expect to see it running kind of that way, right, towards our storm drain. We predict that there'll be some flow this way, that we would predict more flow probably coming off of the parking lot going into the drainage area, and then down that channel and into the storm drain. We're not really sure with the cutouts. You make that prediction looking at it. When I looked at it, it looked like it was coming out of the lawn area, coming that way. So you could also mark that. That these, these drains would actually flow as well into this channel. So we're getting it from the parking lot. We predict from the rain gutters, everything kind of going into this drainage. And then over here, I don't know if you can recall from the video, but that was when I said we went to the other side. It was a very steep sloped sidewalk, and all of these drains went onto it, and there was kind of this discoloration of the drains going right down into the parking lot. I would predict that would be a fairly fast flow, and we would expect to see a fairly fast flow going from the drains down into the parking lot area. And then all of this access road was also you can see it wanted the elevation change. So you're way down on the street level here, you have to kind of climb up a little hill to get up to this area. So we would expect the water to flow downhill, right? So we'd expect it to go off the sidewalk into the parking lot and then down the way and out. All right, great. We've made some great predictions here. We'll move on to what we want to do next. What's the next part of our activity? Then we need to go on our rainy day observations. I have another video to share with you. This is the parking lot with that little drainage channel. I'm using golf balls here to simulate rain because I could not get it on a rainy day. So here's a golf ball going down the drainage channel. And actually what we found was it didn't really go very far. Here's that steep one, and they did drain off really fast right down that area. You see this drain, the drainage thing, and then they went into the parking lot, into this kind of little gully that's happening in the parking lot there. This is repeating. These are those balls kind of going into that drainage ditch. They're not really going very well. Even as they get thrown down it, they didn't go very well. And here's that puddle in the parking lot. On that other side again, going down that steep sidewalk, going into the parking lot, into this little gully, right? They don't actually start to go down hill into the stream. All right. So were our predictions correct? Well, somewhat. We kind of thought all the water would really collect into that channel that was near the parking lot and go into the storm drain. But it was having problems, or at least our golf balls were having problems flowing down it. There was a lot of leaf litter and other debris that were stopping them from getting very far. In the parking lot area, we did see as it rolled along the parking lot that it was collecting in these areas where we had seen the puddles forming or had evidence of that. And they were these kind of depression areas within the parking lot. So they were collecting there and not really running off, not really going anywhere, just soaking into the parking lot. Our prediction of there being a relatively fast flow around the other side with that steep sidewalk was correct. I would have predicted that the water would have collected within the actual gutter right next to it, right off the sidewalk. But our golf balls did not. They ran out into the gully. And actually, when you start to really look at what was happening, there was a lot of leaf litter in that street gutter. And that would indicate that maybe the water doesn't flow through there very fast. And you could see in that kind of gully area of the parking lot that there was more evidence of erosion happening within the parking lot. But you do see it. You do see evidence that water likely runs downhill. And hopefully you'll get to do this on a really rainy day. I had tried to do it, and the predictions were rain later in the afternoon, and it ended up happening earlier in the day, and I thought I would still be able to get the afternoon, but then the rain dried up. And it's summertime, so there's not too many opportunities coming up. But this is a good chance for me to show you, even if you don't find a good rainy day within the time frame that you're hoping to do this activity, you can utilize these golf balls to act as your rainwater and kind of track to your predictions and see if you're correct. So now we want to kind of go back to our maps and figure out, where does all that runoff go? So what's pretty neat about the GIS site is there are these cool, one, you get to see all of this. I might have to refresh this. It didn't like me. All right, you can add these tools. So see, you can add these labels if you want. So you can even use this to do your mapping work that we had done earlier. Let me see, how do I think I refreshed the map. I can't seem to get rid of this tool now that I selected it. My apologies for that one. This is your panning tool. There we go, I got rid of it. So we started out Lelehua. We predicted that the water would run to a drainage. We didn't really see that happening, but what we did see that was correct was it running off that access road, which would sync up with the road here. And it's pretty nifty about this site is you can see the utilities. And it's not really working, but you can see where all the storm drainage is, and you'll see that it does help to channelize all of this water down into the South Fork of Kaukonahua. So we can say, we can draw with this and make a polygon. Let me say the water goes down through these pipes, right? Pipe systems, and I think the pipes actually go this way. And we would track all the way out. It's not letting me keep my polygon. I cleared my graphics. You can trace. Let's look at the terrain too. Oh. We were gone for so long, it kicked me off. So let's get back. We were around here. You can see this even on the aerial view. Really lovely how these streams stay really nice and green. So you can try to trace your polygon from, we were right about here, gets into the South Fork, and click, 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 click. Each one of these is we call it a little node that I'm clicking on. It's not quite a tracing tool, but this is kind of how it gets out to our ocean. So you can trace, where does all of this water really go to eventually? So it all runs off into the ocean. And remember how we talked about things could get caught up in all of that runoff. And all along this whole pathway, things will get caught up in all these buildings and all these different parcels. We looked at a very small area and did some consideration of what, how things run off. We can start to think about what things might run off with it. The things from the parking lot, dirt, and the litter debris that we saw, if there were trash and things like that, all of that could get caught up in that runoff. And then all along the other parcels that we see, those things could get caught up on its way out to the ocean. So a lot of chances for pollutants to get in. So let's try to consider, looking at our map, where might be a good place to try to stop, slow, and or treat the runoff. You can mark it on our map and make up your own legend. So make your own little drawing of what you think you could put in there. I don't have an example, but we can use our little word doc here. And where do we think we could help to stop the flow? So this is partly why I put these trees here. There's this great big lawn over here with lots of trees. And if we could find a way to direct the water to here, you possibly could make what they call a depression, like make like a big kind of hole, like a long, kind of shallow hole, and let that water soak into the ground over here. So capture it so it'll form a puddle, but it'll kind of quickly soak in. Um, that is called a bioretention basin or a rain garden. So you can create that there and do plantings of native plantings. I would say that would be a really wonderful place. Some other things we might want to consider is even at the storm drain, there are filters. There are things that you can put in place that will allow water to go through, but then will stop the other thing, the bad stuff from going through. And it's a little like a screen or a sieve, but it's just smaller, smaller, smaller so that it'll capture even dirt before it goes in. And you can get certain kinds of materials that like the oils that come off of cars, and so they'll capture it within their fibers and keep it from going in the water. So it'd be a great place to add something like that. All right, so we marked on our map how we think we could put something in to help stop some of the pollutants coming off the runoff from our parcel that we investigated at Leilehua High School. And now I want you kind of to consider what else can you do to prevent polluted runoff, because there's lots of things we can do in our everyday and at home or milling about our urban watershed that can help to prevent pollution. And here's some examples here. And I'd like to invite you to share your ideas in the comments. And hear everyone's ideas. Maybe like and give a thumbs up to those ideas that really speak to you and you feel that will help. So I thank you for joining us today. I hope this inspires you to take some actions to help polluted runoff. One of our mottos is to be an everyday clean water hero. And that's because it's those everyday little actions that, when added up together, make a big difference in helping to keep our oceans and our streams and other water bodies clean and healthy for a lot of the life that lives in there, as well as for ourselves, as we rely on a lot of that water for our own well-being. I thank you for being here. Please visit cleanwaterhonolulu.com. You can learn more about Project WET in our Learning Center under the Educators tab. We also have lots of Keiki activities that are free and downloadable there. And we always update our web calendar with the next events that we're hosting. If you have any questions, please contact me at cleanwater@honolulu.gov. And again, I thank you for being here, and I hope to see you all doing your own little rainy day hike.